السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. جزاكم الله خير for coming, everyone. So this is round one, and tomorrow is round two. So you heard how it's going to be an hour and a half, and then a 10-minute break, and another hour and a half. This is tonight, and then 3 hours tomorrow. So an hour and a half and only a 10-minute break might be a bit long. Thank you. So I'm going to need some break managers again. Yeah? So I'm sure Remy is one. Remy? You're one? Okay. I need two from the sister's side. Someone in the front, a little bit behind, because you have to be able to monitor other people. So you're welcome, but you're alone in the front. And so you just need basically what the break manager is. Anytime you're tired or someone around you is tired or it's been going on for too long, we need a break, you just stand up. That's all you have to do. When you stand up, then we'll stop in mid-sentence. Then everyone will stand up, even if it's for 1 second, sit back down. All right? So I need 2 volunteers from the sisters. All you have to do is stand up. We're not going to say anything to you. Thank you. Someone else in a different region. Somewhere in the front here, 3rd row. All you have to do is stand up. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to do. I need to explain to you first what the whole idea is. A bit of a background. I guess I can show the... All right. Can I even go before? We're not doing this course. We're doing a part of this course. This is the full story, just so you understand what's going on. First, though, I've been teaching shahada courses or da'wah courses for close to 10 years, okay? Here's the question that I'm trying to answer. Does this stuff work, or is this just a waste of your time? That's the question. And it crosses into people's minds. In the old days, I used to teach a course called How to Get a Shahada in 10 Minutes. Meaning, you take this course, you stop a non-Muslim in the street that you have never met before, and in 10 minutes, they become Muslim. And maybe 15 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, it doesn't matter. And the question is, does that work? Does it work? And the history was this. I used to, there was a university in Virginia, United States, and that university had a da'wah table. This da'wah table, in 3 years, 2 people became Muslim. 3 years, only 2 people became Muslim. And the technique basically was 2 brothers sit behind the table and they just watch. They had books on the table and they had candy. And the brothers just sat talking to each other. Non-Muslims came, took some candy and what have you. But 2 people became Muslim in 3 years. Then we gave the first ever version of the da'wah workshop, and it was a 6-hour version. In half a semester, 17 people became Muslim. And that was the first indication that you can take average people who have no da'wah experience whatsoever, give them some techniques, and then they become excellent du'at. And I have got, I guess now about almost 10 years of emails and testimonies or testimonials that say it works. Yeah, so inshallah it's not a waste of your time. And I wouldn't travel all this distance if it was just some theories that we're not sure if they work or not. There's a 14-year-old boy who took the course. This is the old course. So first I taught the course, it was a 6-hour version. Then I taught a 1-hour version, a 1-day version, and now with Al-Maghrib it's a 2-day version. The 6-hour version, more or less, is more of what you'll be getting today and tomorrow. That 6-hour version, a 14-year-old boy took it, and next day his best friend became Muslim. I got an email from the United Kingdom. There was a guy who was starting to listen to it online. Then he paused it to go buy dinner. So on the way, he saw a non-Muslim. So he said something from the course. The non-Muslim said something back. He said something else from the course, and the guy took his shahada. So he wrote to me, he said, I only heard half the course and I already got a shahada. What happens when I hear the whole course? There was another guy who heard the 5-hour version online, and he brought about 160 people to Islam. 95% of them remained upon Islam. And so on and so forth. Many stories I get from all over the world. What I'm trying to tell you in a nutshell is that yes, it does work. And inshallah Azza wa Jal, this is not going to be a waste of your time. But all you have to do is one thing. Over the years, thousands of people have taken the course, but not all of them have become excellent du'at because of one thing simply: they didn't try it. They didn't go out and try it. If you take the best course in sales training and then you don't apply any of the techniques, what happens? Nothing. If you take the best religion and you give it to people who ignore it, then what happens? Nothing. That's what's happening with the Muslim Ummah, right? We've got the akhlaq, we've got the manners, we've got the justice system, we pushed it aside. So you see the state of the Ummah. So it's all about trying the techniques, inshallah. That's all it is. And there's no guarantee in anything in da'wah. That's why some of the prophets of Allah will come on the Day of Judgment alone with no followers. Some of the prophets will have 2 followers, 3 followers, and some will just have a handful of followers. That means success is not a guarantee in da'wah. But you have to try, and you try, and you try a technique, it may not work, next time it works, and so on and so forth. But that's the whole idea. Some people try it, and some people don't. So, bottom line one more time in conclusion, the techniques we're about to learn, I have 10 years of testimonials that say yes, they work superbly. Sometimes 7 minutes, someone will take shahada. And sometimes 8 months you're working on the same individual. But the whole idea is you have to try and you have to approach people. Now, here's the idea. What we're going to be trying to do in the next couple of hours, today and tomorrow, is to give you the best approximation to a quick and efficient way of giving da'wah. Why quick and efficient? Most of the time in da'wah, there isn't much time. I'm speaking to a stranger in the street, so I have only 10 minutes. Yeah? No one has an hour to spend. Can you spend the day with me, sir? We'll pray Fajr together, we'll pray Maghrib together, Dhuhr together, eat together. No, sorry. So most of the time I don't have forever to talk to people. So we have to all develop a quick way of talking, a quick way of answering questions, a quick way of removing misconceptions and describing Islam quickly. Most people tell, what is Islam? Well, it started 1,400 plus years ago. You're going to start with the birth of the Prophet ﷺ? That's how you describe Islam? Quickly, I don't have time for you. Everyone's running around in our world today, busy. You meet the guy in the market, he's standing in line, he asks you a question about Islam. Khalas, I don't have time. Or how do I get someone to ask me a question? We're going to look at all these techniques, inshallah. So that's the second thing. We're going to look at what is the bare minimum I have to say to someone before they become Muslim. That's what we want to learn. What is the minimum I have to tell someone before they become Muslim? Not the maximum. The long speech, we don't have time for that. Okay, let's start. But I want to start with something interesting here. And this is, unfortunately, when it comes to da'wah, especially in the West, we don't have accurate studies, we don't have surveys, we don't have statistics. The best thing you can come, the closest you can come to that is collective du'at who have years of experience. You get many of du'at with many different years of experience and you ask them the same question. That's the closest thing we have to research. Is that research? Not really, but it's the closest thing we have to some kind of a number. And realistically, you can give, getting people to say the shahada is very easy. You will believe this if you try it. Take some of these techniques, go try them with people who are, your co-workers, people who study with you in school, and so on and so forth, at university. And then you'll see that it's easy to get a shahada. What's harder is to follow up with the individual. So I'm going to ask you now to guess. Hypothetically, in America, I put together a da'wah team. We go out in the street, we bring 50 people to Islam. Then I ignore these 50 people. I never talk to them or email them or anything. And after 2 months, I come and find these 50 people who took shahada with no follow-up. What percentage do you think remained upon Islam? 10%? Less than 10? 5%? Anyone think higher? Yes? 15%? Anyone else? 20%? 20% will remain upon Islam. So talking to du'at, many du'at over the years, and even 2 weeks ago I asked an experienced da'iyah the same question. And it's about 1 to 2%. 1 to 2%. If there's no follow-up, only 1 or 2% will remain upon Islam. That's very bad, isn't it? It's very poor. You wouldn't accept this in any other field. Very bad. So that means getting the shahada is not difficult, because getting a shahada is selling. And you can sell anyone anything, true or false? Yes? I don't know about KL, but in America, just drop me in any city give me a left foot of an old shoe. Tell me, sell this to someone. I guarantee you I can sell it, and you can sell it. You can sell anyone anything. A horrible product, a good product, a useless product. Sell someone a broken pair of glasses. I can sell it in America. You can sell it. Someone will buy it just for a crazy story. Oh, I found this crazy guy one time and he was selling this shoe, and then he puts it in his library. Just like, it's called, these things are called conversation pieces. So you have a funny story about why you bought this crazy thing. Oh, there was this crazy Muslim and he was selling me a broken watch and I bought it from him for $5. I think he needed the money, ha ha ha. It's easy to sell and it's harder to follow up. And the follow-up is the real challenge. And the follow-up is a community challenge. Because maybe I'll bring someone to the masjid. He took shahada 2 hours ago. I bring him to the masjid. Islam is about peace and it's a wonderful religion and we're all brothers and sisters. And then he makes a mistake in salah because he just became Muslim. And guess what will happen? What do you think will happen? Huh? Exactly. Bombard them with questions or harassment, or, and this has happened, an uncle will hit him. Yeah? Someone will take shahada, he'll come to the, he doesn't even know, he's moving his finger like this or whatever in tashahhud, and the uncle after salah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum. People have been hit, people have been insulted. It's a community challenge. My whole community needs to know. If you see new faces, these are new shahadas. Be very gentle, be very nice. Everyone tries to correct them at the same minute. Everyone wants to give them different pieces of information. One time I saw a guy, we were doing an iftar for him. He was one of the counselors at a university. And he took his shahada. So we did an iftar in his honor. So a brother sat next to him in the iftar. And this is how he explaining to. This is an American guy who just became Muslim. This is the guy explaining in Islam. Of all the things in Islam, he wants to teach him about tayammum. He just became Muslim, and this is how he was teaching him. I was sitting next to him. This is exactly what he was telling him. He told him, in Islam, if we don't find water to clean ourselves, we clean ourselves with dirt. And the guy who took shahada was like, He's thinking, what kind of crazy religion did I enter into? I'm going to put dirt on my face in the morning. Yeah? So, information coming from the wrong place, wrong time, not balanced. The community, everyone wants to overwhelm the guy. And everything they see in him, they want him to fix immediately. So the guy takes his shahada, and they're hugging him. Congratulations, you became Muslim. You have to remove your earring. And you have tattoos, I can see. Remove that also. Do you have a dog at home? Go kill it. So, it's too much. So that's why it's a community challenge. Follow-up is the real challenge. Getting shahada is something very easy. And many of you will go out and you'll talk to people who are your co-workers, neighbors, especially people you're in close contact with, people who study with you. And when you get your first shahada, you'll go crazy after that. You'll get the second one and third one, and I've seen this many times over the years. You get the first shahada and you're addicted after that. So then what happens, you get these people who are just collecting shahadas. Like people who collect stamps, coins. Really. I'm not joking, I've seen some crazy things over the years. So there'll be brothers who just have numbers of shahadas, yeah, and they don't have follow-up. They don't know if these people became Muslim or not. So, and then I'll see them meet each other, say, how many shahadas do you have? The brother will say, 7. Oh, 7? MashaAllah, you're a beginner, huh? 19. Okay, from your 19, how many are now praying in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, know Surah Al-Fatiha, pray, have anything to do with Islam? It's just a number that we show off to people with. I've met du'at. One da'i, he said, I gave shahada to 1,362 people. I said, how do you keep count? Like, do you get a tattoo every time you get a shahada? How do you know these numbers? And how many of these people are Muslim today? Did you do follow-up with? Are praying today? If it's 1%, like we said, most likely that's what it's showing right now, that it's 1%. So if what's 1% of 1,300 something? That's a lot of enormous amount of effort and energy and hours of work to get this result. It's very bad, isn't it? Yeah? So getting a shahada is not difficult. The follow-up is the real thing. Once you get your first shahada, then you second, third, fourth, sometimes you get 4 or 5 shahadas together. Find 5 friends sitting together, give them shahada, wham, like that. Then we have people who lie and cheat people to get the shahadas. I saw a very famous da'iyah in our area. He cheated someone into saying the shahada. He said, for example, say after me, Ashhadu, the guy says, Ashhadu, Allah ilaha. And then when he's done, he told him, you just became Muslim. Congratulations. And he's hugging him, and the other guy's not even hugging him back. What's all this? Yeah? I've seen another one who say, okay, everybody who's not Muslim, get up, please, get up. Everyone stands up. You know, in America, they call this ethnic experience, yeah? They just love to experience something different. So they go to someone, oh, write my name in Arabic. Oh, they're so happy to go home, hang it. You can even write, you are a donkey. They say, hey, yeah? They're just happy about it, you know? Write my name in Mandarin Chinese. Oh, they love these experiences. So the speakers will say, if you're not Muslim, get up. We'll become Muslim all together. Everyone gets up all happy, right? And then they just say the shahada. The speaker will put next day, 400 people became shahada in my lecture, yeah? But these people, they just said it, you know? They're not really Muslim. And they know no one's going to follow them. It's not like they took the shahada at this event with 400 other people. And then next day, in the morning, someone is going to be knocking on the door in the morning. Namaz, salah, come. Didn't you take shahada? Nothing happened. So it's just a joke to them. Anyways, so let's start with here. Let's start with the definition of da'wah. And okay, we don't have much time. Why are we doing the definition and all these technical things? No. You learn a lot from just defining the word da'wah, just from the definition. Now, linguistically, da'wah has a number of different meanings. And all these that are up here, every single one of them, there is an ayah in the Quran where clearly the word da'wah means a request. Sometimes it means to seek help. Sometimes it means command. Sometimes it means ask. You see how many different things there are? So, but we don't want the linguistic definition, meaning what the word means in the language. We want what it means in Islam, meaning the technical definition or the Sharia definition. Example I always give is salah. Salah in the language means dua. Salah is dua. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was told in the Quran, وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ. And pray over them. What does it mean, pray over them? Make dua for them. Your dua is a source of comfort for them. So, but we don't mix the linguistic definition with the technical definition. So I tell them, you don't pray 5 times. No, I pray 5 times a day. I just prayed 5 times. 5 times I put my hands up, made dua. That's it. You can't do that. So, in this Islamically, in the Sharia, to da'wah, first of all, it comes from the root tad'u, which means to call or to invite. This definition is so important because so many people today think da'wah is a fight. It's an argument you have with someone. You know, you hit him left, right, left, choke him, and before he dies with his last breath, he will say, Ashhadu an la ilaha. That's what they think da'wah is. And a lot of times people watch debates, and we love debates. People love debates. And so they think that's what you do. You debate with someone, you fight with them, you make them uncomfortable, you corner them, and they'll become Muslim. But debates are just one way of da'wah, but they're not the default, and they're not even recommended. Not even that. Yeah? It's just an acceptable form when there is need for a debate. But it's not recommended, it's not the default or anything whatsoever. Some of you have probably seen the debate between Jimmy Swaggart and Ahmad Didat, rahimahullah. Where are you? Yeah? Now, clearly who destroyed whom in that debate? Ahmad Didat cleaned house, yes or no? Rahimahullah, yeah? But there was a church in America that would mass produce the debate and give it to the churchgoers. Why? so they can learn that Muslims are aggressive? No. So they can learn how to refute the Muslims? No. So they can dislike Muslims? No. It's just very, very simple reason. Who can tell us? Very simple. Here it is. They thought Swaggart won. Can you believe that? Like, how? He was destroyed. You know, how could he have won? Yes, they thought he won. And if you listen to the debate again, when the Swaggart says things, they cheer and they whistle. He lies. Yesterday the Lord spoke to me. And they're like, yeah, the Lord spoke to you. The Lord didn't speak to him. Maybe Iblis spoke to him, but not. But they're whistling and supporting him because when it's a debate, I close my mind. I don't hear your arguments. I just hear the arguments of my guy. That's why the scholars used to dislike debating. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, I guarantee a house in the middle of Jannah for the one who stops arguing, even if he's right. People think, stop arguing if you're wrong. No, even if you're right, don't argue. It's not good. So debating has never been the way to give da'wah. We learn all that just from this. If the root of da'wah, by the way, with an H, if you don't put an H, if you're transliterating into English, if you don't put an H, it means a lie, an allegation. Yeah? Da'wahum, their lie, their accusation. So, there was a da'ya, his license plate is Da'wah car, D-A-W-A. And his car license plate is Da'wah van. So it's like saying, to the lying mobile, you know. Oh, let's go. It's very, so from the root, we see that it's an invitation, and an invitation can never be a fight. It can't. Because I don't think anyone in your life invited you to their house by putting a knife to your throat, grabbing you by your shirt, said, listen, you're going to come to my house, we're going to have nasi lamak, you better come Wednesday, okay? That's not an invitation. So how can it be that we think inviting people to Allah is fighting with them, making them feel uncomfortable, hitting them hard? And especially if someone knows a little bit of Bible study and all that. So, Luke chapter this, okay, I'll give you Mark chapter this, verse that. John chapter this, try to corner the guy, make him uncomfortable, make fun of his religion. That's not da'wah. So da'wah is to call or invite people to Allah. That could be Muslims coming back to Allah or non-Muslims coming to Allah. To make people better worshippers of Allah. To help them become better in practice and understanding of their religion and in their dealings with one another and in their manners. Everything about da'wah has to do with Allah. It's never about calling people to your group, calling people to your shaykh, or calling people to your madhab. That's not da'wah. It's people getting closer to their Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Very important for a da'iyah to understand that there are two types of guidance. And if you look at the ayat, and we only want the end of this ayah, the Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Allah Azza wa Jal is telling the Prophet ﷺ, you guide to the straight path. Verily you guide to the straight path. Then in this other verse, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Verily you do not guide those whom you love, but Allah guides whomever He wills. Okay, this verse said, you do guide to the straight path. This verse says, you don't guide those whom you love. What's going on then? The scholars say there are two types of guidance. And it's so important for the du'at to understand this. First type of guidance, this one, is your job as a da'iyah. When you direct people to the truth. You know what the truth is, and you tell people, there it is. You make it clear, you explain to them about the Prophet ﷺ, about Quran, about Islam. That's it. You're directing them to the truth. Are you opening their heart to the truth? You can't do that. That's not your job. That is the part of Allah. So here when it says you cannot guide those whom you love, meaning you cannot open the hearts of those whom you love. That's Allah's part. When you understand the difference between that as a da'iyah, this is why the distinction is so important. When you understand this distinction, you will see that there is nothing that can stop you. There is no one on this planet that you cannot speak to or that you cannot change. Why? And that's why it's so important, brothers and sisters, that you understand the power of your words when you're giving da'wah. You can move mountains. Why? Because you're not making things up, right? And when you call someone to Allah, you quote the Quran, which is the speech of Allah, which would crumble mountains made of rock, solid rock. They would crumble from the speech of Allah. And you're saying this to an individual. That's why your words are powerful. 2, you're quoting the Prophet ﷺ. If you're not quoting the Prophet ﷺ, you're quoting generations of wise and righteous individuals who came with beautiful statements. So never underestimate how much you can change people. And you know, many times you say something to someone and you move on and you forget them and their life changes from a sentence that you said to them. And you never remember who they are again. They try to describe them to you, you can't even remember them. Why? Because you didn't make it up. You said something from the Quran. Or you said something from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and it moved them. So don't underestimate yourself. You can move mountains. All you have to do is direct people to the truth. You can speak to a sister and direct her to the truth concerning hijab. Direct her to the truth concerning salah or siyam or anything related to Islam. And she will accept it and she'll be moved. So if your job is to direct and Allah's part is to open people's hearts to Islam, then what can stop you? Many du'at think their job is to open people's heart to Islam. You understand? If you think your job is to open their heart, then when it doesn't open, you think, okay, I can't do this. I'm not good at this. For example, sister is talking to her friend to try to put on the hijab. You expect her immediately to put something on top of her head. It doesn't work. But that wasn't your job. Your job was to only invite her to that, not to open her heart to Islam. Yeah? Likewise, someone speaking to a non-Muslim and the guy doesn't become Muslim. That means I'm not good at this. I tried, I spoke to many people and it didn't work. Therefore, I'm not made for da'wah. I'm going to stop. You got it wrong. Your job is to speak. And Allah opens hearts. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You did your job. Nuh alayhi salam, he called his people for 950 years. Do you understand? It doesn't mean that's his age. The scholars say that's his age in da'wah. He started giving da'wah and he's kept for 950 years giving da'wah. And it's just a small handful of people that followed him. Does he not get reward for 950 years? He gets reward. You do your job, you get your reward, and the rest is up to Allah. And I can invite the person again and again and again. Tfaddal. Shaykh Yasser, you had a question.
When do you know when it's time to move on? And you know, it's a question of timing, right? So
Yes.
maybe just about to, and then you move away, which is not good. Or
Good.
you do too much, and the timing is not right. If you left them alone for a few months, maybe. So how do you make
Excellent. So Brother Yasser is asking, when do you know how to move on? When to move on? And that's a question that I've never been able to answer. I mean, I know when to move on, but how do I enunciate it clearly? This is when to move on. It's very difficult because of a number of things. Number one, sometimes you speak to someone and they don't look interested and you want to move on, but internally they're interested. They're just resisting you because it's a debate, for example, or they want to show that they know what they're talking about. That has happened before. Sometimes you're talking to someone and they're making fun of you. Remember, one time we went to Washington, first guy I met in the street. I started speaking to him, and every time I tell him something, he's just being sarcastic, making fun of me. He's like, really? Laughing at me like I'm just saying some nonsense. And I remember I noticed that, and I said to myself, this guy's making fun of you, move, talk to someone else. Then I said, no, just keep going. So I kept talking to him, then his smile started to disappear. He stopped moving his head from side to side, and he's saying the shahada in a few minutes. Yeah? Another brother, they used to give him da'wah. He used to argue with them adamantly. Then when he became Muslim, he told them, you remember when I used to argue with you and we used to argue for days? He said, every argument and every time you spoke to me, I was convinced with every word you spoke, but I couldn't lose the debate. What does that say? It says, first of all, perhaps the du'at need to change their technique. If I'm debating with someone, it's a fight, so I have to show and argue. Even if I'm convinced, I will argue with you. Yeah? So that means sometimes internally the person is convinced, externally it doesn't look like it. Maybe if I quit, I lose out on a good person. The other thing is that, for example, we used to have this technique in school where if someone was difficult, the partners, one of them would come get me and I'd come speak to this person. There was a sister and she would be very insistent and speak to people for a while. and her partner would come get me. Every time her partner comes, oh, the sister needs help with that person. Tell her, look, if he's being difficult, just give him a booklet and move on. Let's talk to other people. We had a lot of people in our university. So every time I look back, she's still talking to the same person. And then after a while, she's calling me over to let him say the shahada. So I learned from her, even though I give her the training for da'wah, I learned from her, don't give up too quickly. And there are some times when it's clear, don't even waste your time. And of course, in Washington, D.C., we have a lot of crazy people. So you see guys crazy, I don't have time for you. A guy's drunk or stoned or khalas, you know. One time we were in D.C. and this guy, older man, he saw me. D.C. is African American, you know. So he saw me, he said, how you doing, great-great-grandson? I said, I'm fine, how are you? He said, you know who I am? I said, no. He said, I'm your great-great-grandfather. I said, well, thank you very much. Have a nice day, sir. That was enough for me to walk away. I'm not going to waste time with you. So if someone's crazy, sometimes it's clear. But for the most part, the Prophet ﷺ, how many times did he call Abu Talib? Again and again and again. And even at the last minute, he's on his deathbed, the Prophet ﷺ is giving him da'wah. So if you say, give someone da'wah 2-3 times, you're wrong. And the Prophet ﷺ called many people multiple times. And sometimes you call someone on the 7th time, they'll become Muslim or they'll change finally. So that's why you always keep reminding people, always keep calling them back, and you don't really set. But as a da'iyah, you'll know when it's time to move on, for example. You know, you're speaking to someone, or someone is just being argumentative for no reason. They just want to argue. So one guy at work one time, by the way, there's a technique also if someone's arguing, how to stop them from arguing. It's very simple. It's just to say, I'm not here to argue with you. It's that simple. Why? Because if you tell someone, I'm not here to argue, they don't tell you, well, I am. Right? No one does that. And if someone does that, one time in my life it happened, it was a co-worker, and he's just arguing. And I told him something very logical, very straight, like this is a microphone. No, it's an elephant. Okay. So in the end, if just arguing about everything. So I said, okay, listen, I'm not here to argue, okay? I just want to explain something to you. He said, well, I'm here to argue. I said, well, then in that case, then let's stop this conversation. We'll continue another time. Because if you just want to argue, then even if I tell you the sky is above us, you'll argue. If you just want to argue. And that's not conducive, meaning it doesn't help you find the truth. So we'll stop here. And I just turned around, and he was like this. Because he wanted to continue, and now I ended it. Now, what do you think will happen if next week we start to talk about religion again? He's going to respect himself, yes? Because if he just wants to argue, I don't have time for you, yeah? Anyway, so there are many techniques for many kinds of things. You understand the difference now? Your job is to direct people to the truth. Make Islam clear and explain it. The other part is up to Allah. If it doesn't work, you did your job right. You understand? You did your job right. I can speak to 10,000 people. Not a single one of them will become Muslim. I'm doing my job properly. Okay? And when you understand that, nothing is difficult. Many times we'll see someone, maybe, you know, they're what they call punks. They have purple hair. They've got, you know, all kinds of metal things in their face and tattoos. And I'll tell my friend, I want to talk to that guy, give him da'wah. And my friend will say, he looks difficult. Okay, let's go back to our chart then. What's difficult? My job is only to speak. And that's not difficult. I speak to him like any other person with a few changes. And the second part is up to Allah. And no one would dare say that's difficult. So what's the problem? So anyone you meet, you can speak to them and they can change. No one is too big for you. Politician, you know, now you live, alhamdulillah, in a Muslim country, but you can also give advice. Yani. So it's a big politician, you can give advice. Celebrity, doesn't matter. Yeah? We see celebrities sometimes in America, and what's the problem? I'll give him da'wah straight. He's not beyond Allah's reach. Allah opens their heart to Islam, it's fantastic. And all I have to do is just speak to them, nice and normal. Okay, so the ruling on giving da'wah, in very brief, there was a difference of opinion between scholars. Some said da'wah is only obligatory upon certain people. And if they're doing da'wah, you don't have to. As long as in the city someone's giving da'wah, you don't have to give da'wah. Just like the adhan. If someone makes the adhan, does every brother in the room have to get up and make the adhan? One person does it on behalf of everybody. That's called fard kifaya, right? Now the other group of scholars said, no, that's not the case. Da'wah is an obligation upon everyone. Young, old, male, female, educated, uneducated, everyone has to give da'wah. So group A said, how? How is everyone going to give da'wah? It's impossible. Not everyone is a mufti, not everyone is a khatib, not everyone is a lecturer. Group B said, no, we're not saying everyone should be a mufti and a khatib and a lecturer. We're saying everyone on their basic level. What's your basic level? It's equal to your level of knowledge. Someone's level of knowledge is up to here. He can give da'wah all the way from here to here, but he can't go higher than his level. You know, someone's basic level is here. You can give da'wah all the way to here, and you can't go higher than that. So we're all obligated to give da'wah on a basic level. What's a basic level? Let's say, because enjoining what is good, forbidding what's evil is part of da'wah. So if someone does something wrong, tell them don't do that. That's da'wah. So who in the ummah can't give any da'wah? And is there anyone in the don't tell me someone who is, you know, in a hole, or is in solitary confinement, or someone who is in a coma, within reason, or someone who is born with no brain, within reason, who in this ummah can't give any da'wah whatsoever? There's a simple man in a village, and he doesn't know anything. He just prays 5 times a day, and he fasts when Ramadan comes. He doesn't know how to read or write. Simple man. He just makes brooms with his hands. He sells them in the market. What kind of da'wah is he obligated to give? Much da'wah. He's walking, and he sees 2 children using bad words. Ya walad, don't use bad words. Is that da'wah or not? The guy in the market is lying to the customer. When the customer leaves, don't lie, ya akhi, it's haram. What's your dalil? I don't know, but I know lying is haram. He sees young men smoking. Young man, don't smoke. It's haram. What's your dalil, uncle? I don't have dalil. I don't know. It's haram. I know it's haram. You can go check in the masjid. Yeah? So now, who wants to take this challenge? Can you think of anyone within reason in the ummah who is not able to give any da'wah whatsoever? You can't. You can't. There's no one who cannot give any type of da'wah. Everyone can give da'wah. Wallahi, there was a Muslim man in America, and he lives in the hospital because he's paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah? This man gave shahada to 100 people. And he doesn't even talk to them. He doesn't really sit and say, let me tell you about Islam and the Prophet. You know what he does? He does something that everyone in this room can do, and can do better than him. Wallahi, true story. This man, he has pamphlets like this on a table, and he's sitting on a wheelchair, and he can only move his head like this, yeah, and speak. So every time a non-Muslim walks by, he said, hi, how are you, sir? Please take one of those and read it. He can't even give it to him like this. Everyone in this room can do this movement, yes or no? This man can't even give it. He just says, sir, please take, ma'am, how are you? How's everything? Please take one of those and read it. 100 people became Muslim from this man. And it can't be that we're in this room less capable than he is. Every one of us is more capable. But it's like when you really want to do something, you do it. You find a way to do it. Yeah? So we're saying then, the ruling on da'wah is that on a basic level, everybody has to give da'wah. And enjoining what's good, forbidding what's evil is part of da'wah. And we have to do that. And if we don't do the higher level, is everyone in this room obligated to give fatwa? No. But if there's a mufti sitting amongst us, then he gives fatwa. Is everyone here have to give, like, does everyone here have to teach, for example, ulum al-hadith? No, but maybe some of you studied ulum al-hadith and you're capable of teaching it to another group of sisters or a group of brothers. Fine. But otherwise, everyone has to give da'wah up to that level that they're in. And we always say your best friend as a da'iyah is to say, I don't know when you don't know. Don't try to wing it and be, clever about it. It's serious business. So who said if I'm a da'iyah I have to know everything? I don't have to know everything. If I don't know, I say I don't know. And I say, look, I don't know, but I can get you the answer to that. Yeah? Don't ever make things up here. It's very, very dangerous. We just don't have time to go into the evidence, into how dangerous it is and so on. But I say your best friend as a da'i is I don't know. So if someone asks you, who's your best friend, you say? As a da'i, who's your best friend? And then people will say, oh, you don't know your best friend? You say, I don't know. Yeah? You know when people are texting, sometimes they write IDK. What does that mean? Really? Every time I ask people, they don't know the answer to this. Anyways. So, the da'i, and that's you. By the way, you know the best du'at I'm talking about from the prophets and from our times, the best du'at are those who care. They care. That's what makes them excellent. Everywhere, if we see this anywhere, at any level, the du'at are those who care. The best du'at are those who care. And they work hard because they care. We used to go give da'wah in Washington. There was a brother who used to work very hard. And one day he said his secret. He said, these are my people. He's African American, and DC is predominantly African American, or it was. And he says, these are my people. I love them. He cares for his people, and he gives da'wah to them with effort and with care. Yeah? So, some of the do's and don'ts of da'wah, we're going to kind of rush through them a bit. And they're very simple. Keep it simple, number one. Do keep it simple. People think that to be a good da'iyah, speak in big words, big long English words, elephant, hippopotamus, long words, huh? And give dates. In 1979, a scientist discovered multicellular organisms. Whoa, wow, this guy's impressing me. Ashhadu an la. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay? So use simple words. Keep it simple. Yeah? Don't try to impress people with dates and with... It doesn't work. Okay? Number two, stay on your main topic. Your main topic is Allah Azza wa Jal. That everything is about Allah. And everything stems from that. Obedience is linked to Allah. True or false? Yeah? Why do I obey? You obey Allah, it's linked to Allah. Being kind to people is linked to Allah. Salah is linked to Allah. So your main topic is Allah. If let's say a non-Muslim comes to me and his whole issue, he just wants to know, the only thing he wants to learn about Islam is why did your Prophet marry a young girl? That's all he wants to learn. I explain, and he'll go home. And just get up and go home. Thank you for explaining, he'll walk away. What about you and Allah? Sir, come back here. I forgot to tell you the most important thing. The relationship between you and Allah. So your main topic is talking about Allah Azza wa Jal. It's really, what do we call that? Talking about Allah, that He's one God. It's called what? Tawheed, right? Number three, find out who is the person in front of you. Find out who they are. What are their beliefs? Because you have files in here, right? You have a file for a Christian. So if the guy's in front of you is Christian, you click on the Christian file and you open it and you read from it in your mind. If the guy's a Buddhist, you have a file for that. You click it and you speak. If the guy's an atheist, you click that file. You don't just walk to a guy and just click on a random file, right? And I knew a guy like this. He basically, to be sure, he gave a 10-minute speech where he spoke very quickly because he's trying to fill a lot of information. And then he has a section on Christianity, and a section on Judaism, and a section on atheism. And he will tell he's a cab driver, he drives a taxi. So he'll tell the customer, he'll announce the next section. In 10 minutes, he's speaking so good. He gave me the whole speech. He showed it to me. It's a very bad speech. And I told him it's a very bad speech. He was a very nice guy. I told him it's a horrible speech. You have to change it. So he said that I'll look in the mirror and tell the customer, now I'm going to attack Christianity. He starts attacking. Now we'll attack Judaism. Now we're going to attack atheism. So why are you attacking anything? And why are you announcing that you're going to attack anything? And what's the value of speaking about Christianity and Judaism to an atheist in the back seat? The most you'll do is confirm to him he made the right choice. Yeah? So that means you design your talk based on the person in front of you. Find out who you're talking to. And there are techniques. Tomorrow we're going to look at some of the techniques to quickly find out who's in front of you. Very important. Sometimes this is for Muslims as well. Find out where they are spiritually. I'm giving da'wah to someone, and or maybe I teach a class, an Islamic class, but everyone's at a different level. So for example, we should teach youth for like a year, would be like the Islamic school year. And meaning there would be weekend Islamic school, and we'd be teaching these same kids the whole school year. And the first day of school, we find out about the students. Because maybe I'll casually attack something and one of the youth is very into that, yeah, and he's offended. Or maybe they don't all come from the same religious background, meaning religiosity in the household. And some crazy things will be said. So the point is, find out where they are. And what if I just walk up to someone and start attacking something, whatever it is, music and he's a musician, or acting and he's an actor, or so where are they spiritually? Will they handle what I'm saying? And some people just love to start with the heavy stuff on people. And some people just love to start with things that we can't do. They have a list in their mind. It's a haram file. They click on the haram file and they just list all the things that in our life that are haram. This is haram, and that's haram, and that's haram, and that's haram, and that's haram. Would you like to become Muslim? No, I'm okay. Thank you. But avoid arguments. Wallahi, because you're an educator. You are an educator. You are mercifully calling people to Allah. And you care. Wallahi, du'at care. Many times people in America will ask me this question. There's a guy, he's my neighbor for the last 7 years. He's the nicest guy I've ever seen. He has better akhlaq than many Muslims that I know. A fantastic individual. And we're good friends. And I care for him. And I want to give him da'wah. But I'm afraid that after I give him da'wah, it's going to be strange. Our relationship will change. So in the morning he'll look at me and it'll be strange. Okay, now I'm going to say it again in a different way. I'm going to tell you what this person is saying really. Okay? This is what he's saying. There's a guy who's so nice and I like him very much and I care for him. But just so things don't become strange between us, I'd rather he burns in Jahannam for eternity. Now you see how silly that sounds? You care, you give da'wah. Make sense? If you care, you give da'wah. Oh, I care so much about you that I would rather you burn in the hellfire than I tell you, and there's some awkwardness. And on the Day of Judgment, that's why, a person that you're close to or you come into close contact with constantly, your neighbor that you never gave da'wah to, someone who works with you for years you never give da'wah to, on the Day of Judgment, guess what might be their excuse? You. Allah will ask, why didn't you believe in me? And they might say, oh Allah, I lived next to this person for 7 years and they never once invited me to your religion. People blame each other on the Day of Judgment. Okay. So, very good. Let me see. The second one is the only one I want from this page also. Understand needs, obstacles, and issues. Look, a da'iyah, you listen carefully. And this is one thing that we all should do and train ourselves to do. When it comes to understanding each other, we need to bring it up one notch. Yeah? Meaning, bring it up a higher level. Allah gave all of us the ability to understand human behavior and human communication. But most of us, we don't heighten that sense. We don't put effort into understanding people. We don't even put effort into to monitoring how we behave with people. We give salam and we don't smile, for example. So many people are not aware that they don't smile. So many people are not aware of maybe annoying things that they do because they're not conscious very much of their behavior. We have to be very conscious of our behavior and how other people behave. Yeah? How we interact with people. It was in a city, and I was in Sweden one time, and there's a brother who took me out to see the city. And for the full day, this brother had this very annoying thing, and I think, how could you do something so annoying to another human being and not even know you're doing something so annoying? Basically had this thing where he would smack you here. Yeah? Like this. All day he's like, let me show you. Hey, and let me show you this one. And look over there. All day. And at midday, I would start doing this every time. Moving away from him. And he's still not noticing it. He's just reaching more. How could you do something like this to someone all day, not paying? He has no consciousness of how he interacts with people. He'll be someone who never smiles. And he's not even aware that he never smiles. Yeah? You meet people like that. And they say nice things to you. كيف حالك الله يخليك الله يحفظك. Very nice sentences, but what kind of a greeting is this, ya akhi? Are you a crocodile or something? So, So read people, understand what they're saying. It's so important. One time, okay, let me give you some. Let me give you some simple reenactments. Yeah, a guy came to me in Canada. He pulled me aside. He said, "I just want to check, is weed halal? Yani marijuana. Is weed halal?" And he's doing this to me. Okay, you see what's wrong already? You understand it. You read so much. That's a very clear one. But you read so much into it. First of all, he says, "I just want to check." Yani in case. He's only checking, Jazallah khair. Then he's saying, "Is weed halal?" And he's doing this. And then notice, he said, "Is weed halal?" Muslims don't ask about halal. Muslims ask about haram. They love that word. Oh my goodness, the things that people ask you, is this haram? Is that haram? Is that haram? Is breathing haram? Is drinking water haram? Just what haram, haram, haram. This guy's saying, "Is it halal?" He's doing this. And then when I said no, he did this. So that was a very clear one, right? Okay, sometimes it's a bit more tricky than that. I had a coworker, he was a good friend of mine, and I want to give him da'wah. So I said, let's sit down and talk about religion. He's Catholic, he knows I'm Muslim. I said, let's sit and talk about religion. He said, okay. I said, let's meet in my house this Saturday, next Saturday. He said, okay, deal. Now, we made this deal Monday. Every time he comes from his department to my department, he's like, "Hey, Kamal, we're going to meet this Saturday, yeah? But you're not going to convert me." Then Tuesday, "Hey, this Saturday, this weekend is exciting, but you're not going to convert me." Wednesday, "You're not going to convert me." So I think, okay, something's wrong. You have to understand the issue. What's his issue? Try to figure it out. If you can't, you can ask him a question. You can say, "Why do you keep saying that?" There's nothing wrong with that. It's a friend. "Why do you keep saying that to me?" "I'm not going to convert you." Yeah? But I kind of understood him a little better. So I knew that he was afraid that he's going to come to my house, hear some information, and walk out a non-Catholic. He was afraid that I will change him. So in order to reassure himself, he kept saying, "You're not going to convert me," out loud. Yeah? And that way it's harder for him to go back on it. So that's not good for me because he's going to come to my house to fight. And I don't want that. I want him to come calm so we can talk. So I just started to put the power back in his hands. So I told him, "You know what? You're absolutely right. I can't convert you. Only you can convert you. That's a decision that you make if you recognize something is the truth. I have absolutely no power in that." Just like that. So he started to feel very comfortable. Okay, that he just wants to talk. It's not a fight. And he came to my house not looking for a fight, very calm, willing to listen. And alhamdulillah, he took shahada at the end of that session. So, okay, very good. I'm going to skip some of these other ones. I want to do some specific things only. The don'ts, I can easily reverse all the do's and say these are the don'ts. But we only focus on some here. And I think we don't have to mention the first one in Malaysia, do we? That was such an honor to be in this part of the world, you know. People are so polite, mashallah. People take everything with two hands. If the other hand's busy, they touch this other hand. I love these things. Khalas, we're so sick and tired of the rudeness that we see every day. People are so rude. So I don't think we have to stress that point. Yeah. But there's some cities where I have to spend so much time on that point because everyone thinks da'wah is aggression. Yeah, challenge the person, attack them. That's good da'wah. No, it's not. Number 3, don't avoid something. When you're evasive, when you're always avoiding, it's saying that there's something wrong with your religion. If I ask you a question, you avoid it, that's probably because there's something wrong in how your religion explains it. Yeah? Ask a Christian a tough question about Jesus, and they avoid it. What does that tell you? I got him. So if someone asks you a question about Islam, you don't answer it, he's now in his mind, he's thinking, I got them. That's why they're avoiding this, because they don't have a good answer. So don't be evasive. Don't negotiate. This is famous. Du'at will go, oh yeah, Quran said you guys will go to Jannah. Would you like to become Muslim? No, I'll see you in Jannah. So we don't negotiate. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. No deal whatsoever. Allah says in Surah Al-Qalam, وَدُّوا لَوْ تُدْهِنُ فَيُدْهِنُونَ. They wish that you would compromise with them, so they would compromise with you. But we don't compromise. We already said don't give up if the person seems uninterested. Just keep going. Get them to be interested. You know why they're not interested? Because they don't know that the hellfire is black. That's why. You understand? They don't know anything what's going on. One time this guy kept telling me, yes, yeah, I'll humor you, I'll listen to you. Huh? Let him know how serious this issue is. I always tell this story about this drug dealer. We didn't know he was a drug dealer, but now I know I'm an expert in knowing who's a drug dealer. And you're talking to someone and they keep looking around for police and stuff, you know they're a drug dealer. So this guy, he's standing there and he's making fun of us. We're giving him da'wah and he's like, yes, making fun of us. We tell him, you need to become Muslim. He said, if I become Muslim, will you guys give me any money? I said, no. He said, if I become Muslim, will Allah give me a brick? I said, what's a brick? He said, a brick of cocaine. So apparently that is the wholesale item. And then it's broken down for retail. So this guy, he's making a joke out of everything. You know why? Because he doesn't know that the hellfire is black. That's why. So I said, okay, we got to scare this guy. Let him have it. Not in a rude way. But I told him, okay, listen. So you think you're smart, you're standing around here, you're making money, yeah? Okay, let me tell you something. You're going to die for sure, because everyone dies. And when you die, 3 things are going to follow you to your grave. Your deeds, your family, and your wealth. And when they put you down on the ground, your family is going to come back, just like the hadith, to fight over your wealth. And you will be left with nothing but your deeds. And then 3 angels, stern and severe, will come and ask you questions. Then we told them about the questions of the grave. Then we described the angels throwing people into the hellfire. Wallahi, and even in the beginning he was laughing at us and stuff. When we left, no joke, he was standing like this. Just like this. Yeah? So sometimes a person is not interested because they don't know how serious things are. They don't know. Wallahi, one of the most unbelievable du'at I've seen in my life. Allah give this man a tongue. Never. Like you, as a Muslim standing next to him, you want to take the shahada again when he gives da'wah. It's unbelievable. Yeah? But he every day will get 4 or 5 shahadas. Every day. And one day he got over 60 shahadas in one day with his partner. One day. Don't worry. You want to know their technique? That's what we're doing. That's all the same technique. Okay? But the point is, he used to speak to everyone. People homeless in the street, college professors, the same speech. And it was about the 3 questions of the grave, making the right decision, Allah, Jannah, Nar. It doesn't matter who it was. And he gave the speech so many times that he has a rhythm. And it flows nice and smooth from his tongue. No stopping, no stuttering. Same speech. So, if you're not interested, I'm going to get you to be interested. As a da'i, that's your job. And I don't think this applies much here, does it? You see someone, this is in America, you see all kinds of crazy things and tattoos and all kinds. So you say, oh, this guy's difficult. No, it's not. Just speak to them. Remember your job, to direct them to the truth. And the rest is up to Allah. And I always tell this story about this guy I saw. We're giving da'wah all day. And this guy is like tall, big, very pale-skinned white guy. He's wearing no sleeves, so he's got tattoos all the way from here to his wrist. Blue and red and green, all this stuff, all like that. Then he's got a bandana on his head. He has piercings all over. Wherever you can put one on your face, he's got piercings. Huh? Then he's got his 4 front teeth are gold. And he's wearing white contact lenses. White. So you just see white eyes like that, yeah? So, we're giving da'wah. I see him coming this way, like this. I looked over here. I saw a man and his wife. I saw birds. I saw butterflies. It was, sun was shining. I said, I'm going to talk to these. I don't have time for this shaitan. So, this is a true story. So I went to the couple. I gave them some pamphlets. I spoke to them a little bit. Just when I turned my head, the brother was calling us to hear this guy say his shahada. The guy, when I came to, I couldn't believe, like, this guy's taking his shahada. He said, and I remember very well, like it was yesterday, what he said. I remember exactly word for word. He said, I got up out of bed today searching for Allah. Not searching for Allah. And then he told us, I don't want to just do this now in the street and it's over. He said, I want to become a good Muslim. I want to learn to pray. I want to learn this religion. So I made a judgment based on looks, and it was a very bad judgment. It doesn't matter what the person looks like, we call them to Allah. They could be wearing the, whatever, some uniform that says they're a Buddhist monk or a priest. It's not too much for Allah. How many priests have come into Islam? How many monks have come to Islam? You go to them and you call them. Okay. Very good. As a da'iyah, you have different styles. And in the Quran, Allah uses different styles. And the prophets of Allah use different styles. And Nuh is the example. Nuh called his people at different times and at different places. He called them by night. He called them by day. He called them in secret. He called them in public. He used different techniques. The Prophet ﷺ used different techniques. Allah uses different techniques in the Quran. Sometimes He'll tell you, do something. Sometimes He says, if you don't do it, this is the punishment. Sometimes He says, if you do it, this is the reward. Sometimes if you don't do it, that is the reward. If something haram. Sometimes if you don't do it, that's the punishment. And so on and so forth. And sometimes Allah will give you a parable and similar to it. Sometimes Allah will give you the story of a prophet. Sometimes Allah will tell you the story of a nation that He destroyed. Different techniques. Some du'at use the same technique all the time. One technique all the time. Stories all the time. There are some people like this, some famous, these people who tell stories all the time. Anything you ask them, the answer is in a story. Khalas, enough, Anyways, so the point is, as a da'iyah, you have different techniques and different styles to deal with people. The rule is, you give people what they need, not what they want. And if you can, give them what they need in a way that they want. So you can always change the method, but you keep the message the same. So what I say, we say, change the method, but not the message. Change the method, but not the message. So, Naam.
What do you mean by give people what they need, not what they want?
And for example, let's say people want to hear stories all the time. For example, you have an audience that just wants to hear stories. Yeah? But they have bigger problems. They need to learn, let's say, whatever, that shirk is haram. So what do? Just go tell them stories? I give them what they need. Yeah? Let's say I go to a village and this village has a grave and people actually make sujood at that grave. And then they want you to give a khatira about something, a story that's moving. You need more than a story that's moving. You need to stop your shirk, right? So then when I give that khatira and the speech meaning, now, so that the villagers invite me to give a speech after Maghrib that day. Am I going to give them what they need or what they want? But if you're a good da'iyah, you can give them what they need in a way they want. You can use a story that has a message, so on and so forth. That's the idea. Allah barak fiqh. So, the mad'u is the person that you're calling. And of course there's a lot here that we're skipping. There's, for the da'iyah, there's your, there's your intention, your akhlaq, how you treat people. We're skipping all that. We don't have time for all that. But we're just, especially in, mashallah, akhlaq in Malaysia, all good. We don't need to cover that. The mad'u is the person you're calling to Islam. Your approach is going to be based on the person, isn't it? It's going to be based on a number of things. So, can you think of how each one of these people is a different speech from you? If you speak to a Jewish rabbi, isn't that a different speech than a Christian missionary? And even a Christian missionary is different than just a Christian in the street, right? What's the difference? The missionary wants to give you da'wah. The average Christian is just there, right? So if someone wants to give me da'wah and I want to give them da'wah, there's a clash. Who's going to listen and who's going to talk? There's a technique for that. Remind me tomorrow. Someone, it's a male and you're a female, or it's a female, you're a male. There's going to be a different technique here, right? You're not going to say, do you have time now? We can have dinner and discuss this. Not if it's a female, right, brothers? Yes or no? Yeah? Brothers always having dinner with pretty ladies, telling them about Islam and stuff. So why don't you ever tell unattractive ladies about Islam? What's your point? Yes?
Is it also sometimes we think giving dawah is what we go and tell people, right?
Yes.
But many a times as Muslims, especially when it's outwardly recognizable as well. Just how you behave itself is a big dawah.
Yes. And that's why we get into direct da'wah versus indirect da'wah. So a lot of indirect da'wah, your akhlaq, you helping someone out, you smiling, all these, it's indirect da'wah. But the question becomes, is indirect da'wah enough? Yani, does it fulfill my religious responsibility to speak about Allah just by being nice and, hey, how are you? Have a nice day, all day. Is that enough? And the answer, you will understand it, is no. It's a part of da'wah, but it's not enough to say, no, I never talk to people. I just smile and I wave. At some point, you have to do something. So it is a part of da'wah, but is it enough to cover all of da'wah? And I think the answer is a clear no. So, any questions about what we covered so far? Yes?
So what are the key elements in indirect dawah? Can you just name three?
That's exactly what the bread, we say the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to do today. Yeah. Anything else? Any questions about what we covered so far?
I have a question about what you said that you won't be covering. It's about our own akhlaq. How do we know that we're ready? Like, we know that we'll be giving dawah about something that we don't follow. Being a hypocrite.
Wonderful question, Jazakallah khair. So the question is, how can we give da'wah to something that we don't follow? Or I tell people about something and maybe I don't practice it 100%. Is this hypocrisy? Is it? Yeah? Actually, let me explain it like this. The fact that I don't practice something, okay, isn't a reason for me to stay quiet about it. The scholars, they give an example, a hypothetical, meaning it never happened, but they chose such an extreme example to show you how, they said that if there were 6 people sitting down, getting drunk together, it's obligatory upon every one of them before drinking to tell the one next to him, don't drink. Okay, we have an obligation in Islam to forbid what's evil, right? Yeah? So as I'm walking and I wake up and wherever I am, this obligation is always on top of my head to stop what is evil. True or false? We agreed? One more time. True or false? Thank you. Now, this obligation is always there. Now, if I suddenly commit a sin, this obligation leaves because I committed a sin? It's still there. The fact that I smoke doesn't mean that I don't have to tell anyone in the world don't smoke. And I'm exempted from that. The sin gives me this privilege that if I sin, I don't have to stop anyone from the same sin. The best person to stop someone from the sin is the one who has done it or is doing it. Yeah? And that's what Allah Azza wa Jal says in the end of Surah Al-Ma'idah about Banu Israel, a really, really powerful verse. كَانُوا لَا يَتَنَاهَوْنَ عَن مُنْكَرٍ فَعَلُوهُ. They used to not forbid an evil they used to do. They themselves did. What's hypocrisy is to come and tell people that you do this and you don't do it. Yeah? You pray all night, and you never pray all night. I fast every other day. That's hypocrisy. Or to say, let's do this and you don't do it. Or we should all do that. Yeah. But to have, let's say, for example, to have a shortcoming, it doesn't mean you cannot. For example, who in here has perfect khushu'? Nobody. But that means no one can ever in the Muslim Ummah give a lecture on khushu', because no one has perfect khushu'. And then who has perfect brotherhood and completely feels happy for their brother? Everyone has some issues. That means no one also in the Ummah can ever give a lecture on that. Okay? Who in the Ummah, you start counting all the things. Who does anything perfectly? The idea is that we remind each other, and then in the reminder you improve and you become better. So even if you don't do something, you can tell people to do it. Let's say there's a father who's 60 years old and he doesn't pray. Or let's say he's 70 and he's so moved into, and he's so well established in that disobedience that even the thought now after 70 years to start praying is just too much. I'm not going to pray. It's not permissible for him to tell his children, make sure you pray, don't become like me. He's the best person to say that. Yes? The best person to say that. Better than someone who prays. Someone's been praying for 40 years. Father said, look, I didn't pray for 70 years and I regret it now. Pray. He can't say it because he doesn't pray. So you can commit a sin and tell people don't do it. And let me make it simpler. Do I have to get 2 sins because I commit 1 sin? So not stopping someone from drinking is a sin. And drinking is a sin. So I have a choice to get 1 sin or 2. I can drink and tell him don't drink. That way I only get 1 sin. Or I can drink and just ignore him. Encourage him to drink. I get 2 sins. So anyways. Type. Anything else? Any questions about what we covered so far? Oh, so then how do I know I have enough knowledge? Or how do I know my manners are good enough to go out and give da'wah with? It's very simple. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he just became Muslim, he went out and he brought 5 out of the 10 given glad tidings of paradise, he brought them to Islam. What information was there? When Abu Bakr went to Uthman radiallahu anhu, we have the narration. Do you know what he said to him? There was no information. There was nothing, no salawat. There was barely any Quran revealed. Okay? And what information was there? You know what he went and told Uthman radiallahu anh? He told him, basically there's one God, and that man, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's the Prophet of Allah. That's it. Everyone in this room has more information and more knowledge of Islam than Abu Bakr in the first few days. True or false? But Abu Bakr went out with a little information and he brought 5 out of the 10 given glad tidings of paradise to Islam. And he is one of them, that's 6 out of 10 with little information. So go out with what we all agree. The more knowledge you have, the better and more effective you'll be, inshallah. But you also have enough basic knowledge, everyone in here right now, you have enough basic knowledge to call yourself a Muslim. Take that same knowledge and give it to someone else. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And non-Muslim questions, for the most part, they're easy. They don't ask you, tell me what all 4 madhahib say about this issue. They just ask you, why are we here? Why did Allah create us? All these simple things. Alright? So the scholars say, if you're waiting for a day when you wake up and your knowledge is full, your iman is full, your akhlaq are 100%, they say you will never find that day until you go to your grave. Then they say, if you do wake up one day and you feel everything is full, know that you have gone astray. So that means we do what we can with what we have. Right? Any other questions, sisters? Any questions? Okay, if you think of any, let me know. طيب. So we said your approach will change based on the individuals. If it's a missionary, a Christian missionary, a rabbi, a child, an older person, a family member, and aren't those the hardest people to give da'wah to? Family members. You tell them anything, what do you know? I was holding you when you were this big. Khalas, I'm not this big anymore, enough. You know? The place makes a difference. You're in a quiet library, you're in an elevator, it's just a few seconds, someone asks you something about Islam, what have you. Or you want to talk to someone about Islam. How do you do that? We're going to look at that tomorrow. I'm walking down the street and I see someone, I want to give him da'wah. How do I do it? What do I say? I just walk up to them. What do you think? What happens? I see someone, I want to give him da'wah. I see a Chinese man, I want to give him da'wah. How do I do it? How do I just walk up to them? Complete stranger. Difficult. They don't know me. This guy's strange. He's weird coming to me. Hey, you know about Islam? Let's look at some techniques tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, well, this is one technique that we use. It probably won't be the best technique for Malaysia, but I put it up there so people understand that there's something called variety. Yeah? I would actually, this is a technique that I use when someone has a look that says that they're either Muslim or they look like they could become Muslim. Do you know what that means? Yeah? Okay. So if someone has that look, I just go to them and say, and now this will work in America because America, direct speech is okay. Now in the UK, I showed them this technique and they said it won't work in the UK. Because people don't, a stranger, you go up to a stranger and you say, hey, are you Muslim? British person will be like, well, I never. Be insulted, In America, such an easy technique. You just go up to someone, hey, how you doing? You Muslim, man? And the guy say, no. Why aren't you Muslim? How many times have I asked people, hey, why aren't you a Muslim? And they'll just give you the reason right then and there. And many, many times, the reason is, I don't know. I have an uncle who's a Muslim. My older sister is Muslim. So what does it mean when someone tells you, I don't know why I'm not Muslim? It means he's this close to becoming Muslim. He has no good reason to not be Muslim. Yeah? So this technique actually, I'll give you, like in this demo, you'll see that I learned so much about the individual in 10 seconds. You walk up to someone. Hey, how you doing? You Muslim, man? No, I'm not a Muslim. Why aren't you Muslim? Because I have my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's why not. Now, how much did I learn this about this person? Was that 10 seconds? Not even 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds. In less than 10 seconds, look how much I learned about the individual. Number one, he's a Christian. Number two, he's a Trinitarian. He believes in Jesus being the Lord, not just any Christian. And number three, he's probably a little religious or attached to his religion. How do I know that? Because he got, na'am? Because the way he got irritated shows you that he's very attached to his religion. I learned 3 things in less than 10 seconds. We always have to learn who you're talking to and understand. Now what you say, well, that's not a good reason. That's not a good technique because you just got him all excited and angry maybe even. No, I can bring it down very quickly. Watch this. So, you Muslim, sir? No. Why not? Because I have my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's why not. Well, you know, we also believe in Jesus and Islam. But you know what is the main difference between your belief in him and our belief in him? And the guy says, what's that? See, he calmed down already. And then start explaining and start talking from there. Now, the whole reason I have this slide up here is to show you that there are different varieties and different cultures accept different things. One of the worst things ever is when you take a da'wah course and they tell you, use this. No, don't use this. There are many techniques. Use the right one with the person. So I would never use this in the UK. Never. Now, while I was teaching this course in the UK, a brother who's a very good da'iyah, mashallah. You guys heard of Da'wah Man? Okay. So Da'wah Man, it was in the course, and he said, he's a fantastic da'iyah, I love him. But he said, I have a technique that if I see a young brother who's like, you know, dressed all kind of hip and hip hop or whatever they call that stuff, and I tell them, this is a British thing, he said, I will call him, I'll say, yo, bruv. You know, they don't say the TH, the bruv, brother. My brother, my mother, like that, you know. So he'll tell him, yo, bruv. He said, that's how this guy talks. So it catches his attention very much, and he turns immediately. He said, now his question was, he said, other du'at tell me, don't use this technique. Okay, they made a rule. Why not? So I asked them, okay, has this ever backfired on you? I mean, have you ever said yo bruv to someone and they got offended? He said, no. Have you ever had a problem with it? No. Why shouldn't he use it then? He's using it in the right place. He doesn't see like a British guy wearing a top hat, which they don't do anymore, but imagine he sees a British guy, white guy with top hat, walking like, yeah. And then he tells him, yo bruv. He does it with the person that he knows will accept it. So is there anything wrong with this technique? Absolutely nothing. So this technique in America, I'll use it, and I'll tell you, every time I've used this technique, because I use it on the right person, 97% of the time they take shahada. No, it's not because I'm good or anything, or because the technique is good, no. Because I'm using it in the right place, that's all. This is a problem where people, especially they take some da'wah course and then they see a technique and then they want to put the technique in the wrong place. A guy came to a sheikh, and the sheikh came to ask me this question. He said, a guy asked me this question. He said, I used a da'wah technique of the Prophet ﷺ and it didn't work. How? And Prophet techniques are the best, right? He said it didn't work. How could it not work? This is the full story. You remember the hadith of the young Sahabi who came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Ya Rasulullah, i'idhan li fi zina. Permit me, give me permission to commit zina. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ then told him, would you accept that for your mother? He said, no. Would you accept it for your sister? He said, no. He said, in the same way, people don't accept that for their mothers and for their sisters. And he made dua for him, and then he went away. He said he was talking to a guy in America, non-Muslim, and the guy said, yeah, there's nothing wrong with zina, it's okay. So he says to him, would you accept that for your mother? And the guy said, yeah, if she consents. He said, would you accept that for your sister? He said, yeah, if it's her boyfriend and they know each other, what's the problem? So he said, it's a technique of the Prophet ﷺ and it failed. How? What do you think? Someone put your hand up and tell me why it failed. Yes? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You're right. That's true. And the guy said that he finds it okay. But why didn't the technique work? You're very right. Why didn't the technique work? What's wrong about the place? Huh? What is wrong? What? It's what? It's the norm? Mm. Is that why it didn't work? Because it's a norm? Okay, what's wrong about the approach? Yes, sir. Sorry?
He didn't ask permission to make zina.
Okay, it would have worked better if the American guy came to this Muslim for some reason. Hey, give me permission to commit zina. Right? Thank you very much. And the Muslim guy's like, why are you coming to me? I don't understand. Very simply, brothers and sisters, very simply, the Prophet ﷺ used this technique on a Muslim who understood Allah, paradise, hellfire, ghira, protective jealousy for women, and he understood that he's coming to the Prophet of Allah. And the Muslim tried to take this technique and use it on a non-Muslim. And a lot of times this is a common mistake. I take a technique and I try to force it here. This, you might recognize, won't work in the UK. Don't use it then. Oh no, I saw it in a workshop. No. Do you think this will work in Malaysia? You know better. You think it will work? No? Who thinks it will work? Yeah? You think it will work? You have experience and past that says it has worked? Okay. So then, what we're really doing is we experiment with things. We experiment. And sometimes you say something that's not offensive. If the person's offended, you can even apologize and you can explain. So, for example, people in America, they don't want to read, they don't have time to read, especially about religion. I don't want to read your religious book. So I used to have this pamphlet, a booklet, and it was an easy read. So I would always tell people, take this book, take this to read. It's a very easy read. It's a quick read, and not going to take much of your time. People are busy. It's a quick read. So one guy, when I told him it was a quick read, he got offended. He said, "What do you mean? I don't read, or if it's too complicated for me, or like that?" So no, that's not what I meant. Explain. If it doesn't work, explain it, but try it first. You understand? So I quickly told him, no, that's not what we meant. We meant that it's not going to take up much of your time because people are busy, and I'm sure you're busy. Oh, okay. Now he's calm. One time I'm giving da'wah to a guy with his son, and already, Mafi warning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's like 10-minute break. It's the break time, so we're going to stop here, and we're going to resume with an exercise, which is basically the core of what you say to someone to become Muslim. The minimum you have to say to someone before they become Muslim. And we'll reconvene after the break, inshallah. Sallallahu Mubarak Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.